In fact, people with disabilities make up the highest minority group on the planet. People don't know that. I think it's over 1 billion people have a disability in the world. Yet they're not always part of the conversation when it comes to groups that need to be advocated for. So mainly because, finding a voice is challenging for many. And so we like to try and be part of that voice, but we still say we aren't people with autism, nothing about us without us. We really want to make sure that their voice is heard and they have a chance to express what their desires and wants are. But it's a group that really deserves an opportunity and can prove themselves, and I think we've shown that here.
How do you challenge the status quo in a world where everything seems to have been done? In our Behind the Blank series, we sit down with entrepreneurs, creatives, and pioneers to hear their story on how they're being different. How a t-shirt is just a platform for so much more. This is Behind the Blank.
My name is Patrick Bardsley, co-founder and CEO of Spectrum Designs Foundation.
And my name is Tim Howe. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Spectrum Designs Foundation.
So Spectrum Designs really is a business with a social mission. It's an enterprise, a custom apparel printing business that has the mission of creating jobs for people on the autism spectrum. And that's a group that faces 80% unemployment rate nationally. So when you start to think about how we can create those jobs, the apparel industry was one that made a ton of sense. We also started 5 years ago Spectrum Bakes and Spectrum Suds. Same mission of creating jobs, but in a granola kind of edible, delectable arrangements, and a laundry business that employs people on the autism spectrum as well.
A lot of businesses cater specifically to those college-educated people on the spectrum, and that was just absolutely not what we wanted to do. We wanted to open our doors to people who all they can maybe do, or like the peak of their performance might just be folding a t-shirt. And to us, that's okay. Like if there's a job in the building that can be done by somebody with a diagnosis, then it is done by somebody with a diagnosis. And we just say that everybody who maybe couldn't find a home somewhere else, or was just stacking shelves, or their skills were just being completely underutilized, they can come to Spectrum and flourish. And all of the guys have just become great friends, and you see a mixture of neurodiverse individuals, right? In the beginning, we were like, okay, so who is on the spectrum and who isn't on the spectrum, and how does that work? And over the course of the years, it's a credit to Patrick's leadership, and it's just disappeared, and now it doesn't matter anymore. It's just a fantastic way of integrating people with and without diagnoses.
Yeah, and some of the employees have gotten apartments together. Some have moved into houses together with their other families, and that's not something we ever planned for. A big thing that the parents and the family members worry about is the employment and the social, and so to be able to try and help with both of those things it's magic.
So we have a lot of customers that, for an organization of our size, we have no right to have. When we reach out to a company, we're not coming cap in hand and saying, we have this social mission, look, there's these people with autism and they're struggling to find jobs. And we don't do that at all. We come in business focused. We always can get there on price, we always can get there on time, and we always get there on quality. Those are the three main things that businesses really look for. But it's been challenging, or it was challenging in the beginning, to convince people of that. They hear about the social mission and go, okay, I'm gonna pay more to work with you guys, or I'm gonna sacrifice quality to be able to do this. As we've grown, we've been able to prove that more and more, that those things don't necessarily go hand in hand. A big turning point for us was when the company Betches LLC started working with us, and they started Shop Betches, and we've been with them hand in hand since they first started selling products online. And they really challenged us to produce at a volume that we'd never worked at before, to work through fulfillment and polybagging and barcoding and all of that stuff that you have to think about for retail. Like every product has to be exactly the same and exactly perfect.
100% of the proceeds go back directly into the mission. So there's no shareholders, there's no kind of dividends, right? All the money goes back into the pockets and to the mission of the employees and what we're doing. So we allow for expansion and growth. The nice thing about being a nonprofit is you can get donations, you can get equipment grants, which has helped us expand more quickly. But if you're a private business, you can get angel investors. So we kind of, whatever we give up there, we gain there. So that's really how it's worked. We get really excited when we get a big new customer or a big new account, because it's not not just about the dollars, it's about the hours of productive work that we can provide now. And as Tim said, every new customer, every new account just allows us to open our doors that much wider to this underserved and undervalued and underestimated group.
The biggest thing has always been struggling with people's preconceived notions of what having a diagnosis means, and saying, okay, well, my shirt's going to be smeared, right? Is the artwork going to be the right color? Are you guys going to be able to get all of this right? And in the beginning, that was a massive challenge, and it felt insurmountable in the early days, because it would be every other conversation that we had. As we've got bigger and we've had some people really absolutely adopt the mission and become these like evangelists for what we're doing, they really get what we're trying to achieve, and they get why it works the way that it does, and start telling everybody that what an amazing job we do. That's been the catalyst. The industry itself has been so welcoming to us. We thought that maybe it would be hostile and that we would come into it and we're trying to do something completely different from everybody else, but also in a way doing the same thing as everybody else.
Yeah.
But they've been so welcoming. Like the local associations have been so welcoming. Bella Canvas have been so supportive. The FAM training was an incredible thing. Actually, all of our staff did the FAM training during the pandemic, right? We had to close down and everyone was stuck at home, but we were like, we need to keep everybody building skill. Well, we need to keep everybody paid. That was our first priority, but we have to keep everybody training and learning, doing skills. And there's only so many lift with your legs and not with your back trainings you can do. So having something dynamic like the FAM training and then FAM 2.0 was incredible and so useful.
Well, what we try and offer our customers is a good, better, best, and Bella Canvas is always in the best category. I'm not just saying this, like when we have an opportunity with a new client who wants something higher end and they say they don't just want a standard cut or a standard thing, I'm just like Bella Canvas. And I'm not just plugging it. You know, the color schemes, the colorways, the cuts, the style, the softness of the material. These are things that when you're a decorator, people often tie your ability to deliver a product to the product, not necessarily your decoration. So people will say, your shirts are so soft. I'm like, thank you. But really, they're not my shirts, they're Bella Canvas's shirts, right? And so it's really important that people understand that. And so Bella's also a name that people recognize, and often we'll get people being like, well, can you get that? You know, and we're like, yeah, we can. A lot. And that's kind of helpful.
And knowing that Bella are also fighting to make the industry more environmentally friendly and more sustainable, that's very important to us and to our customers. And also the innovation that Bella Canvas is constantly doing. Like, we get to offer products that nobody thought of in colors that nobody thought of 2 months ago, and we get to stay ahead of the curve. It makes me sound really cool when people call me up and I say, oh, it's mauve or mauve, do they say in America? Yeah, that's the color right now. And then I sound super fashionable and cool.
Yeah. These are the spring colors.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of kudos has to go to our rep Tess, who keeps us informed all the time.
Yeah,
but I just basically, just bottle her knowledge.
Tess Bender.
I just bottle all of her knowledge and pass it off as my own. But it works.
It's like closest thing to retail in a wholesale environment, if that makes sense. Whenever I give out something to like a new customer or whatever, we always send them samples of Bella. I know they're gonna make that judgment, especially for us, because you know, people are expecting sometimes something, oh, it's a non-profit, oh, it's disability employment. I'm like, blow their minds with a 3001, you know? So the long-term goal is what? World domination?
World domination, 100%. We can't say empire, we've learned that.
No,
right?
As British people, you can't say that anymore. Our mission is to create employment for people with disabilities. Our vision is a world that sees only ability, right? And that's serious. And so for us, every shirt we put out, every product we put out, every new job we create helps change those old patterns of thoughts where people can see ability and not disability. I certainly don't want to look back and think, okay, we created 1 or 2 print shops. Like, I would love to have created a model that was replicable and a model that inspired other businesses and people to do the same thing. I think that's the goal, is to create a sustainable business that is true to its mission, true to what it's doing, puts out a good product, treats people correctly, and let's see where we go.
I think there's another piece that of the mission that is the thing that inspired me the most, which is changing preconceptions of people with disabilities and what that means and who they are and what they can achieve if you just build something around as being supportive, right? A lot of the time people will hear that somebody has a diagnosis and they maybe won't get an interview, right? Or people on the autism spectrum struggle with sometimes the social piece of being able to sit across from somebody and make eye contact and interview in the right way. But that's not what you're going to be doing in the workplace. And you should have hands-on interviews where you can just say, hey, can you do the thing that we need done in this environment? And as this like non-profit print shop hybrid, we get to blaze a trail and say, hey, look, this is how we do it, and this is how incredible these people are, and this is how capable they are. And we get to kind of model that for other businesses. And the more we do that, the more opportunities there'll be for people with disabilities. And it's less putting them on the sidelines and more bringing them out into the fore and saying, these guys are extraordinary, just give them a chance to prove it. They say everybody's struggling with something that you don't know anything about. And for us, that's just so much more clear and so much more apparent. We constantly are telling people that if the person that you're speaking to hasn't seen your value, you're just speaking to the wrong person. It doesn't mean your value isn't there. And we've made, I guess now, careers out of showing people that they can be valuable and they can be productive in the right atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it's just, you just need to keep telling people and keep showing people your value, because somebody out there is going to get it, because we did and we found it. And a lot of people have found their calling here at Spectrum as well as just us. They just needed to be given a chance.